This is a tutorial on the use of the accounts receivable screen inquiry. This is probably the most commonly used inquiry screen in the accounts receivable module. Currently we're going to query upon a customer that has a number of invoices, credit notes, and unapplied cash records set up in the accounts receivable module. So as we can see here, at the top part of the screen we have the customer name, the telephone number, and the salesperson, and the currency all defaulting from the customer master table. If we take a look at the bottom section of the screen here, we can see our invoices, credit notes, and unapplied cash records are now in descending date sequence. If we wanted to do this inquiry by ascending date sequence, we click and re-enter our query. And now we can see the date is now in the ascending date sequence. On the top of the screen we have a customer text button, and this refers to customer text that has been entered either through this screen or through customer maintenance GB0900. And if we wanted to depend onto this or change it in some manner, we can do so in this screen. Next we see our aging buckets that date the invoices into various time buckets and giving the total value of the invoices at this field here, the outstanding amount. If we come down here, now we can see the invoice number, the date, the invoice type, which is either a invoice, credit, unapplied cash records, some reference information such as a ship to number, purchase order number, just a general reference field that may have been entered on the invoice, the original amount, the unpaid amount, whether this was an adjustment, and whether the invoice is in dispute. The dispute flag can be set in the AR new record entry screen if that's where the invoice was entered at the time of entry, or you can go into the minor changes and adjustments screen, AR0200, and flag the invoice as disputed. At this point now, if we had a screen full of invoices here, or multiple pages of invoices, and we wanted to query on a particular invoice, we can just do an execute query in the detail block. So if we execute query here, we can actually, it'll clear the screen, and then we can enter our actual invoice, one particular invoice number, or we can use a wildcard and query on quickly on an invoice number. And we can see that here. We're going to just execute query again and requery to bring up all our invoices so we can continue with the tutorial. If we wanted to look at particular payment details of an invoice or a credit, unapplied cash record, we just click on the line and we click on the payment details button. That'll bring us up information about the payment history of this particular invoice. So in this case here, we can see that a credit memo from credit note number 120 and a payment made of $2 against that. Next we had a payment from check number 12 for $300, and there was $2 discount. If we click on the payment detail button for invoices where there has been no payments, we'll get a message just saying no payment records do exist. Next, if we wanted to see sales detail information, this will apply only to invoices that were created through the order entry processing cycle. So we're going to go down to this invoice here, click on the sales detail button, and that's going to load up the sales analysis inquiry screen and allow us to see the details of this particular invoice, all the ship to, bill to, the products on the particular invoice, and a very detailed look at what elements made up this particular invoice. finally, we may want to enter some comments against a particular invoice. We can do so in this screen, clicking on the comment button, and we'll enter a quick comment here. And we can close our screen and save that particular record. Finally, we can to reduce the amount of invoices that display on the screen, we may want to see just open invoices only. Those are invoices with outstanding amounts on them. As we can see here, we have invoice 5512, which has been fully paid. If we come up to the top part of the screen and we click on our Display Open Invoices button, that'll clear the screen, allow us to re-query, execute query, and now we can see that that invoice no longer displays here. This concludes the tutorial on the AR screen inquiry.